available on our YouTube channel for those who aren't able to make it. So if you ever miss one of the V3 calls, please feel free to catch up with the discussion from the YouTube channel. So this is the NEMSIS V3 implementation call, August 7th, 2019. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we will get right into our NEMSIS annual meeting. Bridget's got some exciting updates for us to keep us on track for the annual meeting coming right up. Bridget?
Thanks, Julianne. Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to let you know registration is completely closed. We are at capacity, so we're not going to be able to accept anybody else. If you have any questions about that registration, please just feel free to reach out to me. We can kind of go from there and figure out what we can do to see if we can get you there for any other reason. Hotel is almost completely sold out, so if you do not have your rooms booked, just remember that the hotel block that we have set aside is completely full. You would have to be based on availability at the hotel, or you would have to find accommodation somewhere else in Park City. We have an pretty equal number of states and vendors coming, so that's super exciting. It's going to be a really great meeting for everybody, and there's going to be lots of wonderful things and some exciting things that we're going to get done while we're here. Check-in at the hotel is 4 o'clock. If you need to be there sooner than that, they will definitely try to get you guys in. There's just no guarantee. They can also hold your bags for you if you need that. Parking, if you guys are going to be driving or renting a car, when you check in, they will give you the room. When you get your room key, they'll also give you a code to be able to park underground. If not, there is a parking lot just to the side of the or across the street from the hotel that you guys are more than welcome to park in also. Now, as far as the activity that we're going to be doing on Monday evening over at Park Mountain Resort, I have to get those tickets ordered today. Today is the last day that I can get them ordered. If you need any additional ones for family or somebody that's coming in with you, please send me a message. Let me know. I'll put my email in the group chat for everybody, but please let me know because I need to add those tickets in also. Other than that, I'm excited to see you guys in a couple days. I'm good, Julianne, so you're set.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Bridget. Does anybody have any last-minute questions for Bridget? She has been working so hard to get every detail together for this boot camp and annual meeting, so it's going to be really a good time. Next up, Clay's got some information on an updated agenda. Clay, are you ready to take that?
I am, thank you. Is it okay if I grab, okay, great, share my screen. All right, fantastic. Is everybody seeing the NEMSIS website on my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so thanks everybody. Wanted to take just a moment and go over some of the additions we've made to the draft agenda. So as folks know, we have breakouts for both days to discuss important elements of NEMSIS version 3 that we're still trying to get better at implementing. And we're breaking out into 2 breakout groups, one for the vendor group and then one for EMS officials. There are topics that are associated with those breakout sessions on both days for each group. So on the agenda, if you go to the website, I've got it open here for the software company breakout sessions. Here's the topics for day 1 and topics for day 2. The same thing is present, the same type of an agenda layout is available for the EMS state officials as well. You'll notice that both groups are talking about the same issues. We're wanting to get different perspectives in regards to how we can facilitate the implementation of, for example, what do we want to do with 3.5.0 in regards to health information exchanges? There's some different approaches we can take to expand our use among other HIEs and hospitals across the country. So a great example of a topic that will be covered in both groups what we've added here, just ensuring that folks come to the meeting with kind of a common purpose about the issues that'll be discussed in those breakout sessions, we've added a page, this is page 4, I think, of the agenda, where we've outlined the issue that will be, all the issues that will be discussed during those breakout sessions. So if you would be so kind as to read through these descriptions associated with each of the issues we'll be discussing, I think you can come to the meeting with ideas and comments specific to the issue that we're trying to address during those breakout sessions. So just wanted to bring those to your attention. Two other things that I'll just mention real quickly that we're going to be posting on the website today and we'll be sending out to those who are attending the meeting. But for those who unfortunately can't make the meeting, you'll be able to download them off of the website. We're working on 2 additional guides that we're hoping to get some feedback on. And actually, Josh has been doing the bulk of the revision associated with these guides. And so, Josh, if you have any comments after my brief description, I would sure welcome those. We're going to distribute some additional white papers that are being developed. One is this one, the V3 UUID guide. The NEMSIS UUID really promises to solve a number of issues that we're facing with the NEMSIS standard right now. So it's going to be a great addition under 3.5. But understanding how to implement it will be something that we will have to come to as a consensus as an industry. So we're working on this UUID guide that will really kind of solidify how the UUID will be implemented. And then also, Josh has been making some revisions to the demographic agency guide. So how to use the demographic data, specifically related to the identification of primary identifiers in the demographic data set and linking that to event files. What Josh is doing is actually revising this document to include the ability to use UUIDs. And so, for example, some of his examples will indicate how UUIDs can be incorporated in and used as part of the demographic data set to really add some much more value to the demographic data set, both to the states, to the agencies, and then also at the national level. Now, Josh, I know these are clearly in draft form. We're posting them and asking folks to, if they'd be so kind as to read them before we get to the meeting. I think you probably have some direct questions related to your revisions that you wanted to ask the groups in Deer Valley. Is that correct?
Yeah, during those breakout groups, one of the topics that we will talk about is demographic data and how to fix some blockages in that flow from local to national. So that'll be a topic of discussion. And then, of course, we will talk about UUIDs and some of the, now that we're ready to put out UUIDs in NEMSIS 3.5, then we'll have some implementation questions that we'll want to cover with people. The NEMSIS UUID guide, this is the draft, and what I'm most worried about is trying to strike the right balance between just being easy to understand and being technically precise in this guide. So we want software developers to really have the technical details they need to implement it correctly. But at the same time, we need people to be able to understand the big picture with UUIDs as they read this guide. So I would especially appreciate feedback on striking that balance of getting the big picture about why we're doing this, as well as getting enough of the technical precision and detail to help software developers implement. And then with the demographic data guide, it is updated for UUIDs, and then the other significant change that it's updated for is that we have removed some data elements from the demographic data set that were elements about the state. And so we've been able to remove some content from this guide because those elements will now be in state data set. They'll be handled very clearly and easily there instead.
All right, thank you, Josh. Any questions related to the work groups, the two draft guides that we'll post on the website today, or the changes to the agenda?
Hey, Clay, it's Keenan.
Hey, Keenan.
We've been having some internal sort of discussions about our attendance next week and sort of the agenda. And we have some concerns about the fact that the working groups are sort of siloed to include only state and only software vendors. We sort of feel like the spirit of the meeting is to all come together and try to get problems solved holistically, and without a coming together of those groups and sort of large-scale discussions, I don't know if that's going to really be accomplished.
Yeah, Keenan, that is a great question. Thank you for sharing that. It's a really good one. You're right. The spirit of the meeting really is for us to be able to come together and kind of look at our limitations, where we need work, and working together to solve those. And because of that, with each of these breakout sessions, we do break out separately, but then we have report outs and time for us to discuss the findings of each of the two groups together. But your point is well taken. This is a little bit of a different structure than we've done in the past. We just thought we would try this as maybe an approach that maybe a little bit different, maybe a little bit more helpful in regards to the software community being able to talk more technically about issues, while the states can take more time to discuss business use and maybe not mixing the two, but really coming together during this time to bring together both a technical questions or potential solutions with business cases and solving it that way. So it's a really good question. We're not attempting to modify that approach in any way, Keenan. We'll try this. If it really does feel like people are feeling siloed by this, we could certainly change it day two and have a different configuration if people feel like weren't meeting the needs. Much like we've done for most of the other fall meetings, this is a time to brainstorm some approaches and maybe come to a consensus on a way forward. And then we spend months afterwards kind of solidifying that approach. So again, I don't think we'll be trying to come to any hard solutions here, but coming up with some good directions for us to move forward in. But your point's well taken, Keenan. Yeah, thank you. It's a good point. We were just trying to mix it up a little bit and see if this could provide just a different mechanism whereby more technical and more business use specific conversations could happen.
Clay, I'd like to sort of solicit sort of the opinion of the other vendors in the other states, because we feel pretty strongly about this. Mm-hmm. We really could. I mean, honestly, me, Adam, Richard, Dan, we could get in a room, commiserate for 15 minutes and figure out how to solve something or not solve something. But I think the input between and the dialogue between us and the states is something that should happen on a much larger scale than the breakout report sessions or the report out session. Yeah,
great. Let's look if there are other comments. Do folks have other comments regarding the constitution of the breakout sessions this year?
This is Ryan. We've kind of talked about it internally too from the vendor perspective, and we kind of softball around a few ideas of why it went this way. But I have to say I sort of agree with the comments already, because my first thought was, even if we can't participate, could we at least have one of our people in the room so that we have some kind of visibility? Because I worry that with the limited time that we have together and how much we want to try to accomplish, we're going to spend a lot of that time rehashing what happened in breakouts without and kind of going through the same explanatory pathways again, and how did we get to this decision, and why did this happen? And so, if we're looking for participant and observer level in the breakouts, where the state could have one person over on the vendor side to listen, so the state knows what the vendors are talking about, and the vendor's like, I don't feel the intention was to create anything like secret, but we try to have enough representatives to have people in every breakout session, so we can at least hear and get some kind of report on everything that's happening at the conference, because all the conversation is so valuable. I just want to make sure that there's some kind of mechanism or some kind of way that we can maintain that transparency, so that we do collect as much information as possible and have the best foundation to provide solutions.
Hey, Clay, that's one of the other things that it's always helpful for us to hear what the states are hoping to get to, or what their idea is. Helps us to figure out how the software can get them to where they want to go, or at least have a good conversation about maybe why we can't get it quite the way they were envisioning it. That's always super helpful when we're all in the room together to hear the different thought processes on making it successful.
Yeah, great comments. Others from the vendors?
I mean, to Robin's point, Clay, it's predominantly the reason we go, right? That's the reason we show up, is so that we can hear it face to face and try to work together with the states. And I think that we diminish everyone's value, especially the state's value, when we don't do that.
Hey, this is Adam. I was trying to think of the flip side to having them as we went down. And first off, I apologize. We're a week away and discussing the reformatting of the meeting format or agenda. But I think what is helpful is when we're all in one room, when we bounce between different conversations and thoughts of like, well, a state has this problem and the vendor brings up this one, and we kind of are going down parallel discussions, but there's somewhat overlap. So I like the idea of maybe vendors in one room and state EMS officials have their own discussions to come up with some unified, here are our top 3 concerns that maybe the vendors can answer, and here's this top 3 concerns from the vendors that states can answer. So I like that ability, but maybe some reformatting of the timeline or the hours allotted would allow us to maybe a smaller session where we're broken up to identify those concerns to bring back into a larger discussion time all together. Maybe that would work.
It might have worked better as a phone call beforehand, and then we could discuss that phone call at the meeting together. It's close to what Adam was saying.
True.
Okay, great. Yeah, other comments?
Did I relay that one all right, Clay? Did that make sense? I know I rambled a little bit, but
yeah, no, I thought you did a great job. So maybe
okay.
So far here there's kind of 2 ideas on the table. One, and maybe we could do both, right? One of the ideas Ryan shared is just, I think that most of the software companies have more than one person attending, and so maybe they could have a representative, kind of a listener in on the state side, for example. So that's I think is a really good idea. The other idea is for us to rework the agenda somewhat and maybe reduce the time spent on each of the topics. Like you said, maybe coming up with the top couple of things we want to try to resolve this next year, and then expanding the report out periods for us to discuss in the larger groups, or in the full group. So those are I think 2 really good ideas that we'd be willing to work on in the next couple of days. Holding a phone call before would also be incredibly valuable, but we're of course in a very short timeline now with folks probably traveling on Sunday.
Right. What about like an open call for comments on the email list? Something that could people give their feedback that way beforehand, or?
So like on Google Group or something, just
right.
put out each of the topics.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much you would get either, but so it's a
Yeah,
last minute change.
yeah. With the time so short, particularly on the state side, they might not have a lot of time or take a lot of time to actually dig into it. It's a great idea, and we probably should have thought of it earlier.
Or we know what we're going to all discuss in a larger room, and we do our homework. We come with the actual questions rather than waiting to the meeting to start talking about the ideas.
I wholeheartedly support that. Like we all know what the problems are. There's no secrets here, and I think that if we just get in a room and actually start talking about them, we'll find a lot more benefit to it than sort of going back and forth 1,000 different times.
Yeah. And I'll make sure my team brings a bunch of fake mustaches and putty noses so that we can sneak into the state meeting anyway.
So so I'm hearing that we could take either of those two approaches, kind of have the mustache approach that Ryan's mentioned, have a representative in the state groups. That would be absolutely fine. We can certainly rearrange the schedule somewhat. We could do both if folks feel strongly about that. Just wanted to check and see, really haven't heard from any of the states. Do states feel a need or want to be present in the technical or the vendor meetings?
Hi, it's Mark Roberts. Yes, I do. I'd like to be in, at least hear what the vendors have to say.
Yeah.
This is Amber Beaton, and I completely agree. I think it's incredibly useful to hear how things are actually executed from the vendors.
Okay, great. Well,
yeah,
so
I too, Chuck from Wisconsin, I too feel that there's some benefit to having that, because as we bring up suggestions, meeting the pitfalls as to the technical that can't do it or something, or finding a way to go around about it to be able to get both ends, I think is worthwhile.
Great, Chuck. Yeah, thank you. Well, so I guess the third option on the table that could be, we basically have two large rooms for each of the breakouts. We could just cut the room in half and just have it be a random mix in both rooms. I think there's value in not trying to brainstorm an idea with 70 people in the room. That can just be slow going. So I guess the third option on the table is just to randomly put people in two different rooms, and then they can work through the issues with the current agenda, and then we can come together for the period, for example, day one from 3:30 to 4:30, and see if we can have a consensus on some approaches we're going to investigate and work through this next year. Which of those three or a combination of those do folks favor?
Those are three topics.
Well, should we keep this the same agenda, just asking for DMC representation in the vendor group, and then vendor group representation in the state officials group? That would be one approach. The other approach is to keep it the way it is, but really limit the time that the EMS officials and vendors have only together to just come up with a couple of their big issues they want to resolve, have that happen very quickly, and then really extend the breakout session report period to maybe 2 hours, so we can actually talk about what are their number one and number two biggest issues, and come up with potential paths forward during that 2 hours as a group together with all 70 together. Or just the third option is just randomly breaking up the attendees into two groups and having them just go into the two rooms and then kind of come together during the 3:30 to 4:30 with a consensus discussion. What do folks prefer? I think any three of those are possible. Keenan, what do you think? What might do you feel would meet the needs of the vendors best? And
great question, Clay. I think maybe a very short individual meeting and then coming together might be the most advantageous way.
Okay.
My core preference as a medic is just put everybody in the room and call it good, right?
Yeah. What about on the state side? Yeah.
I kind of like that idea of having a short breakout and then larger discussions. Kind of get past the the initial questions, that initial confusions, I guess, that can happen, and that'd be like you're basically taking the place of what we were mentioning as a phone call.
Okay. Okay, great. How about on this? Yeah. Yes, sorry.
If we're coming up with like the top 3, right, in the vendor section and then the state official, is there a way when we all come back to a group we can keep it focused? Because I know that's been part of the big, when 70 people get in a room, we tend to get distracted or we go off on tangents or that aren't exactly on topic. So maybe if there's a way to, when we do all get into the same room together, to limit our ability to run amok on different topics, maybe that'll help solve the actual items we bring in from the breakout sessions.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we can certainly try to do that, do our best to keep everything on point. State officials, does that sound good, Chuck, or some of the other folks online, Ridgely, others, meet together just briefly to kind of come up with the top items of concern, and then coming together to discuss those issues in a longer report out?
I think that sounds doable.
I agree. I think you can sort of set the scene and then get some greater feedback from the bigger group.
Great. Okay. Well, we will rework the agenda then and make that work. I think that's clearly possible, and if that's going to be more effective, we are all for that. So I'll rework the agenda here over the next few hours and get it posted probably in the afternoon. Great comments. Thank you for bringing that up, Keenan. I appreciate you bringing that up on the call so we could get this straight before we meet together, if this will be more effective. Super.
Well, and by using the description on the last page of all the different issues, if we truly review those in advance, I think we can come to a better discussion quicker.
Yes. Yep. That's its purpose, was hopefully to be able to focus in the discussion. So we'll meet together briefly for each of the 2 days, and the 2 groups meet briefly just to solidify our thoughts about the primary issues that are associated with each of these topics, and we'll meet together, stay very focused on an approach forward for each of them as well. So sounds great. Okay, good. Thank you for that feedback. That's really, really helpful. All right, I think I have the next item. Is that okay, Julianne, just to talk about the 2018 data real quickly?
Yes, please do.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, folks, just wanted to let you know that we are finishing the cleaning on the 2018 data. We have 22.5 million EMS activations from 36 states and territories for 2018. Just an incredible accomplishment when you think that the 2017 data set had just under 8 million EMS activations. So clearly a ton of just great work getting states moved over to version 3 and getting them actively submitting to the National Registry. Just incredible work. The data look very clean, much like 2017's. So we really are moving in a direction where the data is much more consistent and reliable and much more valid over and above version 2. So kudos to everyone. We're providing the data set kind of on the schedule that was used for version 2, simply because we held the standard open, the data collection for 2018 open for many additional months to help some states kind of get their data in that they'd collected in 2018. In 2019, we're really hoping with our method of data exchange with version 3 to really have, for example, the 2019 data out in like February of 2020. So that would be very exciting. And as folks know, the NEMSIS cube now, both the state specific and the public cube, the data is just a week old. So lots of folks are using it, the cube, with this idea of tracking naloxone use on a very timely fashion, and just find it incredibly valuable. So kudos to everyone for the great work that's been done, the vision that we've been able to bring together. I think it's been incredibly valuable, and it speaks to the idea that things like ET3 are possible with really good data collection and really good analysis of the success of programs like that. So just great work. So that data set, the 2018 data, should be available to the public for researchers to use in probably a week and a half, I would say. So exciting news there as well. All right, any questions related to the 2018 data? All right, Julianne, I'll turn it back over to you, my screen back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Clyde. Just want to show real quick the NEMSIS public training calendar for fall 2019. We're reestablishing monthly public trainings. They'll be on the first Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. This flyer will go out to everybody, and we'll also talk about it a little bit at the annual meeting. We will try and push them out at for a quarter each time so that you know what's coming up, but then that allows us also to be responsive to your needs and adjusting those topics. September will be overview of changes to V 3.5.0, and that will actually be a recurring topic as those changes are coming about. We'll repeat that topic a few times, and as we have more information for ET3 and some of the other issues that are evolving and developing, we'll make sure that we get those on the calendar for public training. If you've got specific things that you want addressed, shoot us an email, let us know, and we'll look at a place for that on the calendar. These will be very specific to that topic, and we'll make sure that we've allowed time in there for questions and answers so that it can be interactive, so that when you leave this training, you feel like you have a good grasp on that topic. So this calendar will go out to everybody. And we'll keep this going. Does anybody have any questions about the public training calendar? Excellent. Well, let us know if there's topics that you'd like us to address. Clay, was there anything from Office of EMS or NHTSA that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, not that I know of. I know they've been incredibly busy with the ET3 folks. We're excited to have them present via Zoom. 3 representatives from the ET3 project will be presenting on the first day, and they've been working hard with many of the software folks that will be at the meeting, kind of coming up with their plan for data collection associated with ET3. So they're going to want to be asking some additional questions in that larger meeting on day 1. And then also I'll just mention just real briefly that they're also working hard to complete a revamp of the compass measures with the new NEMSIS project that's being facilitated out of the American Academy of Emergency Medicine Physicians, I think. And so they're making progress, and we'll be releasing a first draft of some national performance measures that they'd like to see implemented. Those should be coming out soon as well. So that's all I really know that's been going on from the Office of EMS.
Okay, thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments that anyone would like to put forward during an open forum session?
Julian, this is Laurel. I have something I'd like to mention.
Oh,
So this is for all the vendors on the call. I know many of you are seeking compliance recertification or initial certification before this year's end, and I wanted to let you know that there will not be.
Oh yeah, it's just like the lake's a really nice temperature right now.
I'm sorry, we're getting a lot of feedback from here.
Yeah, Julianne, can you see who that is?
Yep, we've turned that off.
Okay. Thank you. So I know many of you are trying to complete compliance certification initially or recert by the end of 2019. And I want to let you know that there will not be any appointments available in the second half of December. From the 16th to the 31st, I will not be in the office, and there will be no one to complete compliance testing with. So if you have a goal to complete a certification by the end of the year, I would encourage you to jump on getting that done sooner rather than later. Between the opening of 3.5 testing and the many people who are recertifying in the state of California, I expect to see quite a few of you. And if you wait, I can guarantee that it will get very busy. So I just wanted to put that out there. There'll be a more formal notice that goes out on the Google group pretty soon here. Questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Laurel. Are there any other comments or questions? Our next meeting will be August 28th. We'll see many of you Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week, and we're excited to meet a lot of you in person and to have those one-on-one discussions that'll be so valuable. Please reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns before that time, and we're happy to help you with whatever your concerns are. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll go ahead and end the meeting. Thank you, everyone.